Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Thomas. Tonight we're back here with Josh Scorcher. Tonight we got the top 10 difficulty spike bosses. So yeah, these pretty much are the bosses where you really get you when you're in a lull. Like you think, oh, I should be able to get this game all done. All done, no problem. But then all of a sudden, hey, we're gonna be here for a while. Honestly, I don't know if I played any of these bosses, but we're about to find out. So let's see where the spike really shows. Be sure to like Scott for more. Hope you enjoy. Let's go. Here we go.
Creating a fair difficulty curve means that the game should gradually become harder as you go. Some curves are higher, some are lower, but both are still consistent. Then you get to the difficulty spikes, in this case, ones that take the form of bosses. These are unusually hard, as in they are noticeably harder than what comes before and after them. Now, because of the ability to grind, judging the difficulty of an RPG boss is, for lack of a better word, debatable. So, in cases like that, we'll judge an RPG boss by how much preparation you usually have to do beforehand, including grinding time. Now, make no mistake, this is not a hardest boss list by any means. You know? Most of the bosses who appear on here are not the most difficult in their respective game, but they can take you by surprise when they curb stomp you. With that out of the way, let's get started.
Again, if you know what to expect.
Great bosses have been a staple throughout the Metroid series, as have difficulty spikes. Bosses such as Phantoon in Super Metroid or Yakuza X in Metroid Fusion were both known for giving players a bit of a hard time when first encountered. However, there is one boss from this series that speeds past all the competition, and that would be the Boost Guardian from Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. Now, a bit of elaboration. In Metroid Prime 2, you have two worlds to traverse, the Light World and the Dark World. When you enter the Dark World, Samus will slowly take damage over time. Thankfully, there are safe zones you can stand in to slowly heal, and defeating monsters can provide you energy, assuming you don't get hit. Up to this point of the game, you've fought a few bosses in the Dark World, dodging their attacks while jumping from safe zone to safe zone so the corruption doesn't eat you alive. Also, most bosses have been pretty straightforward. Obvious weak points and attack patterns, attack after they do, counter the defenses with the recently acquired power-up, the usual. This, of course, all changes when you drop into the ring of the Boost Guardian. The first thing players will notice is the complete lack of safe zones in this boss arena. Okay, so the game wants you to beat this guy quick and fast, right? That seems doable, especially because he occasionally spawns mooks that give a little energy. But when the Boost Guardian deploys his second form, he suddenly becomes invincible. And if you don't have the Dark Suit, it will do a full energy tank of damage with one attack. And the only way to counter this form that is immune to all projectiles? Carefully line up your bombs with his trajectory and hope he runs into it as they explode.
The amount of math needed to predict this boss's movement, it should be on the final for calculus!
This unholy combination of war of attrition and a highly unfair secondary form sent many players to the game over screen with rage. Funny enough, even one of the game's own developers, Brian Walker, once said in an interview that he was only able to beat the boss in debug mode. I think if even the developers have some issues beating a boss, you might want to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, I was gonna say, shouldn't you have a little more safe zones? Would have helped.
What's the one thing that's more frustrating than a difficult boss fight? How about one in the form of a puzzle?
Oh, my favorite.
Up to this point, Mega Man 2 has actually been a pretty decent game. Catchy music, weapons aplenty, and pretty consistent boss fights. With one notable exception,
Wily's Castle?
The Boobeam Trap. Picture this. You just finished mowing down Guts' dozer and probably feeling pretty winded about now. So, what's next around the corner? A room full of glowing doodads on the wall that shoot lasers at you. Mission seems straightforward enough. Take out the 5 orbs to make them stop shooting so you can move on. But only in a just world is it ever this simple. This little escape room from hell is bordering somewhere between broken and shamelessly trollish. For starters, the orbs are unfairly trigger-happy, shooting lasers and taking a chunk out of your health literally every few seconds, and dodging them is next to impossible. There's also these stupid breakaway walls all over the room that only serve the purpose of making you waste your ammo. Speaking of, the only weapon that'll actually get rid of these bloody things is the crash bomb. And you've only got so many shots to spare with it. And the most fun part, once you run out, you have to willingly let yourself get vaporized, waste time gathering up ammo again, press pause, bang your head against the wall, scream into a pillow, cry in the shower, and then come back to go through all this bullshit again.
Probably just do it.
Thankfully, there are a few silver linings. The walls you have to waste your time shooting don't respawn every time you die, so you'll only have to put up with them once, which will hopefully make the next frustrating rinse cycle a little easier, assuming you don't use a continue. Also, the Mega Man Legacy Collection version of the trap gives you the biggest bone by giving you a save point so you can restart your file with Crash Bomb's ammo at full capacity. To be honest, I want to give Mega Man 2 props for trying something new with a boss fight, but uniqueness doesn't always equal amazing.
True. Could be just a headache and waiting to happen. Number 8.
Man, it's been so long since I've talked about Kingdom Hearts, huh?
Oh yeah, it was just last countdown.
So long.
While the organization is where the real brawls are, one of the novelties of the Kingdom Hearts franchise was being able to go toe-to-toe with some of our favorite Disney baddies. These typically range from disappointing and broken to amazing
Maleficent?
and kinda cathartic. And a select few are merciless to try and face up front without a plan. One fight that definitely gets the heart pumping is in the first game when you tussle with the mistress of evil herself, Maleficent. Her normal fight is fairly straightforward. She towers above you on a floating platform, so you just gotta somehow
get up
reach
there
her,
and
knock
smack
her
'em.
pedestal down, or just use gravity, even for a moment, and just wail into her as much as you can. Also making sure to be wary of her tossing spells and the occasional goon at you. So you managed to beat her down. Happy ending, right? Oh, what a world we live in if it was ever that easy.
Now shall you deal with me and all the powers of hell!
Immediately after that, Riku helps give her a little boost, and she is ready to unleash
AKA
all the
Silver Heart.
powers of hell in her terrifying dragon form. And she cranks the fight dial up to 11, 20 at best! She'll snap at you with her jaws, swipe at you with her claws, pound you with magic, and of course, burn you to a crisp. Her enormous size does nothing to slow her down. No, it only makes her attacks almost constantly unavoidable. And because there's almost never a telegraph on when she's gonna attack, you can't risk standing still even for a moment. Defeating Maleficent Dragon isn't impossible, but woof, you are in for a time.
Man, look at that health bar.
Riku Ansem is hard because you can't use your partners for summons. Tinkerbell. But unlike Riku Ansem, she can't be stunned, flinched, or staggered in any way. What you see is what you get. And the normal strategy of walking and dodging while trying to plan attack patterns, yeah, that won't work either. The mere act of Maleficent turning her nose at you will take a chunk out of your health, and possibly even push you into the fire.
Simply put, everything Maleficent does is extreme.
Except for
For
that.
better or for worse.
So, the best advice I can offer when taking on Dragon Maleficent, plan ahead. Before you go into the fight, before you even fight normal Maleficent, before you even put the game in, strategize ahead of time. Think about who you want in your party ahead of time. Beasts may be more helpful than you think, and consider which summons would help you best. Tinkerbell, have that all figured out
keep that
beforehand,
on standby.
and you'll
Good enough.
hopefully stand a lick of a chance against the spiteful bulldozer of a boss fight.
Duly noted. Okay, yeah, that's not sure when I'll ever get back to Kingdom Hearts, but I mean, considering I got Persona 5 right now, might be a while before I do another long RPG, you know? Just saying. They go long, man. Jeez. I don't know. Like I said, I might find some time, but I gotta figure that part out myself. Anyway, moving along. Number 7.
To properly explain how difficult this boss is, hey honey!
Yeah?
Yeah?
You're the resident Pokemon expert, so say you were in a Gigantamax battle. What would you say if one of your Pokemon got confused, poisoned, and leech-seeded?
I mean, that would be annoying, but I mean, it's not the end of the world. You can always switch out, especially since confusion goes away immediately.
I see.
Alright, good, U-turn.
What if all 3 of those effects were done to all of your Pokemon by 1 attack?
No.
Fuck that. Yeah, that's a fuck that moment.
Now you know why people hate the Elder Wyrm.
Yeah, this isn't a Pokemon boss. Instead, it's from a game with more fair mechanics, Final Fantasy. In Final Fantasy XII, as you make your way through the Goldmoor jungle, you will suddenly come across this dead wood dragon as you transition into a new area. It honestly comes out of nowhere since it has no story significance and 1 cutscene to introduce. So what's annoying about the fight itself? First, it comes at you with 2 treants. Not terrible, but doesn't help. 2, it has more than 1.5 times the amount of HP to the previous boss, who wasn't a cakewalk either. And 3, and most annoying, his special move, Spore Fall. This cinematic move can give you random status effects like Confuse, Poison, Blind, Oil, and Sap. So it isn't just being confused, poisoned, and leech-seeded. Your accuracy can also fall, and getting a weakness to fire-type moves. And yes, he does have a strong fire-type move that can one-shot you to go along with all this crap. Outside of Spore Fall, he can still inflict other status effects like Silence, Slow, and Sleep. So hope you have maxed out remedies on hand for that. As with most other RPG bosses on this list, you can grind to overpower him, but unless you're playing Zodiac Age with ×8 speed, this will be super tedious. And even so, Sporefall can shut down your team pretty quickly unless you have gambits to insta-cast Asuna or use remedies. Honestly, some players find it easier to just skip the Elder Wyrm. You can take another route to your destination. Sure, that route has enemies that are 15 levels higher than you would be at that point, but it'd be easier than being bum rushed by status effects. While there are also other bosses in the game that spam status effects at you, Elder Wyrm is at a point in the game where you don't have as many options, so planning around it would take more effort. Being an RPG boss and also being
hence why grinding helps, so you can take the other route,
but considering the amount of prep work you need to beat him, hoping that your partner AI works correctly, and making sure Confuse or Silence doesn't hit you so you can recover quickly, it's more effort than you need for a super random boss that shows up out of nowhere.
Again, probably best to grind and just take the other path. We'll come back here later, I think.
The Pokemon series has a loose interpretation of bosses, legendary titans, villainous organizations, and in this case, gym leaders. Each one of them has their own unique gym style and battle techniques, some better than others. Honestly, I could probably make a whole list about the gym leaders.
But it doesn't really seem like my thing.
Which one?
Although...
But for now, I want to give special attention to one particular leader that surprisingly has more trouble than she seems. Whitney from 2nd Gen.
Really? The normal type?
This perky pink-haired lass is in charge of the Goldenrod City Gym and specializes in normal Pokemon. Normies aren't particularly heavy hitters, so it doesn't sound like too much of a challenge, right?
You poor, fragile Homo sapiens.
Yeah, she's arguably the most frustrating gym leader in the Johto region. Her Clefairy could be problematic because of Metronome, but the real challenge is her literal beefy tank, Miltank. First off, this thing has ridiculous survivability. It's a normal type, so it's only weak to fighting type moves. But to offset that, its defense and HP stats are well above average. So even if you manage to find the guy at the Goldenrod department store and trade for his Machop, its attacks still won't produce the normal significant effect. And because Miltank has Milk Drink, meaning it can heal any scratches it takes, it's like you're fighting Snorlax and Chansey at the same time. Oh, but the most frustrating part is Miltank's offense. Not only does it have Attract, a move which will make your Pokemon fail to attack 50% of the time if RNG decided your Pokemon should be male, but it's also got Rollout, a brand new Gen 2 attack that no one expected it to have, because why would a normal type gym have a rock type move? Rollout, if you don't know, doubles in power every time it's used in succession. That means it doubles from 30 to 60 to 120 to 240 to 480. That's over 3 times as strong as freaking Hyper Beam. Yeah, while its attack stat is average, this pudgy cow has an unusually high speed stat, meaning it will more than likely go first and use Rollout.
You're too slow.
If you don't stop the rollout or cause it to miss with Sand Attack, Miltank will literally steamroll your entire team. This is especially bad if you already have a flying type at this point, since they're weak against rock type moves. And Arceus help you if you have Cyndaquil as a starter, like I did.
What a baby.
What makes battling this heifer so frustrating is that it takes an unusually high amount of preparation beforehand to even come close to standing a chance against it. Really, other than grinding your heart out, the most you can hope for is to throw a lot of status moves at Miltank and pray the RNG is on your side. Would you believe she's only the 3rd gym leader in the whole region? Well, things can only get better from here.
Hey, Monty. Yeah, you better hope this is what those are.
Remember?
Sorry, before we get to Persona, just to bring it up, I'm pretty sure Whitney is definitely a learning curve. Like, you gotta make sure your Pokemon can actually use like different types of moves. Like, if you stick to one type, you're screwed, because you can't attack if they're weak or immune to it. Like, say they got Water Absorb or ground type if you have Electric. I'm just saying, move diversity helps. I know I'm pausing early, but I had to point that out because I'll be real, don't remember playing against Whitney. But yeah, I mean, even nowadays when I play Pokemon, I still have those moments of like, better grind out. I mean, you're kind of expected to grind in RPGs, You gotta prepare. I mean, hey, saves you the headaches. Anyway.
Remember how broken Matador was in Persona 5? Well, imagine being on the receiving end of that. Right off the bat, the biggest problem with Matador is his signature move, Red Capote.
Oh, Capote.
This maximizes his already crazy high agility and accuracy, making him next to impossible to hit, and make sure he can always hit you. This requires you to debuff his agility before you can even attack him. And the whole time you are at the mercy of RNGesus since he's free to use Red Capote whenever he feels like it. And don't even think of trying to debuff his other stats since he'll just dispel those. Then he gets to low HP and gets some new skills. Focus, which greatly powers up his next physical attack, which will probably hit. Taunt, which greatly lowers your entire party's defense. And Andalusia, which does a ton of damage to your party, which will always hit. Yeah, Taunt raises your party's physical attack, but good luck trying to hit Matador with his evasion. Even though he's an RPG boss, you still need to do a crazy amount of preparation against him. You need to assemble a team that specifically counters his attack type, and you will likely need a whole party heal spell. This is such a crazy spike because none of the previous bosses in the game are too much of a problem if you Pokemon it up and target elemental weaknesses. At this point, the Matador fight pretty much turns into a dumb luck contest, and if the RNG isn't feeling merciful,
too bad you will die.
Thank you. Number 4.
Fighting an evil version of yourself is nothing new in video games. Be it a prototype of your player character, a clone, or a copy made by a magical object, video games will always come back to this classic idea that your most challenging fight would be yourself. The Legend of Zelda has dabbled with this idea several times, and they're usually infamous. Zelda 2's Dark Link is especially hard, but so's the rest of the game. Ocarina of Time is a different story. Located in the already heavily loathed water temple, you eventually enter a room that's pretty barren. A large, shallow pool of water with a small island in the center. All seems okay, except where's the boss? Turns out to even trigger the fight, you first need to walk over to the center island and then turn around to see Dark Link. Yeah, it's not the first incarnation of the character, but the Ocarina of Time version is well known for being a right pain in the ass to fight. First off, Dark Link's health is directly proportional to your own, so if you've been hunting down pieces of heart, congrats, you just made the fight harder for yourself. Secondly, Dark Link will know how to counter all of your sword attacks. He will block, dodge, and even jump on top of your sword and kick your teeth in. Usually for boss fights, Navi has some good advice for how to defeat them. So tell me, Navi, how do I beat this dude?
Conquer yourself. That's it?
This is no time for Zen riddles, you annoying blue Tinkerbell!
What you have to do is try and fake out Dark Link and then attack him with either the Big Goron sword or the Megaton hammer, two objects that the Shadow can't copy. However, finding the right trick to beating this bot proved too much for many players, resulting in many just giving up and solving the issue with my go-to method, fire!
Is there anything fire can't solve?
Honey, did you file our taxes?
This looks like a job for fire!
No, it's not. Don't burn your taxes. Beerus is gonna get you.
Dragon Ball Xenoverse is another Dragon Ball game where you spend time going through all of the events of Z with a fine-tooth comb. Well, more like running your fingers through it. But this time, you get to play as a created avatar to try and stop evil forces from ruining the DBZ timeline. The battle system is similar to Budokai Tenkaichi, where you're in a 3D arena fighting enemies in teams, but with more RPG elements than fighting game mechanics. Well, towards the end of the game, the god of destruction Beerus and his attendant Whis show up saying they want to destroy the main villain, but that could result in the Time Patroller base being destroyed, so the Time Patrollers want to handle it. Beerus says he'll let them if they can defeat him and Whis in battle. Honestly, this battle can be summed up in 2 words. Super Armor! For those who don't know, Super Armor makes enemies not flinch when hit, which opens you up to free, sometimes very powerful attacks. This makes some battles hard, but eventually, with some timing and a little luck, you can power through Super Armor and get some good hits in before it recharges. Here's the problem. That tactic will eventually work against a single foe. Try putting 2 foes together with that, and they're both gods with god tier abilities. Well, one's an angel, but you get what I mean. Besides their super armor, they also warp, launch large super powerful balls of energy, and can multi-combo you to death if you're not careful. Okay, yeah, you do have a partner with Time Patroller Trunks, but that's moot because even with Super Saiyan 2, you will be quickly and easily defeated. So now you have 2 near invincible guys to fight on your own. Even if you manage to bust one guy's super armor, the other guy will bum rush you, and then the super armor you just broke recharges. Yes, this is technically an RPG boss, but level doesn't matter when you're barely doing damage to them or not stunning them due to their super armor. Even going to Saiyan as your class and using Super Saiyan 2 won't work. Plus, most of the story after is nowhere near this hard or frustrating, and you spend the rest of it fighting superpowered versions of all the show's villains.
Seriously? Fighting 2 people with super armor? What are they thinking?
Cut!
Not yet.
Need to say that.
No, not say number 1. Number 3. Hold up on my cut being later, huh? Number 2.
In the previous video in this series, I mentioned how much I adore the Undertale bosses. What makes them so great is how they always keep things interesting and bring their own style to the table. Some are just fun ham sandwiches, and others are a lot more tragic than we give them credit for. And others?
Nope.
And then there's Sans, Papyrus's laid-back squat brother. Now, on the surface, Sans isn't really that threatening. He's actually lazy and passive in a meta sense. If you go pacifist or neutral, he won't give you any trouble and can actually be a pretty helpful ally. However, if you embrace your inner demons and kill the other bosses, well, I believe he puts it best. He ends up becoming the last boss of the genocide route, and he isn't
because Flowey gets killed by
punches. Right off the bat, he slams you with a barrage of attacks before the battle officially even starts. You'll probably die like a half a dozen times in this segment alone. Next, you legitimately can't hit him. He'll just keep dodging every attack while you land while he gets to wail into you. And yet you still have to attack because it's the only way to progress the fight. To really survive, you have to memorize his attack pattern or he will wreck you. Of course, that's easier said than done because Sans will go so far as to break the game's reality, if one even exists, just to spite you. And if he offers mercy and you call his bluff, yeah, that's a bald-faced lie. Sans has no chill, and you're not getting out of this until the fight's over and you suffer for all the blood you took. And if in the off chance you survive his monstrous final attack, what's his grandiose special move he's been boasting about? Complete and utter apathy. He just stands there, out of breath, and keeps you from doing anything, unless you wait for him to fall asleep. Thankfully, after that, all you have to do is just reach the fight button and then, bam! One attack is all it takes to end this madness.
I know I'm too young for a pacemaker, but after this one, wouldn't hurt.
This is why I've never gone genocide.
Being the final contender of the genocide run, it's clear this was supposed to catapult you through the ringer to compensate for all the no-nos you did up to this point. But here's the thing, intentional difficulty spikes still count. You definitely get your money's worth after all the damage you caused. For the record, I'm not going to be one of those guys who's going to preach about which run you should take, because face it, half the fun of a video game is making your own mistakes and seeing what happens. That being said, Just take this as a word of caution. If you do go for the genocide run, Sans has no time to take it easy on you, so you better be ready if you want to avoid being curb stomped.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Trust me. And number 1.
So, what boss is deemed worthy of the biggest spike in difficulty on my illustrious countdown? That stupid pig!
Oh! You!
So, you go through Diddy Kong Racing and fight a myriad of other bosses in racing matches, and then Whizpig comes up and says, "You can't beat me." And honestly, he's right. Even though he's just running, he's way faster than he should be for a giant pig. In order to beat him, you require perfection. At the very least, you need to hit all of the boosts. And with the slower characters, you need to time it to max out your boosts. Of course, it still isn't that simple. Whizpig is so large that if you boost into him, you can get knocked back. And if you get knocked into the water, well, say goodbye to your already slim chances of winning. Okay, I know this is the final boss, but I have 2 reasons to keep him on here. 1, he is stupidly harder than every other boss in the game. And 2, the second stage of the boss is actually easy. Yes, the actual second form is a plain stage that's much more chaotic, yet considered much easier than the first phase. So he's a giant pig that runs faster than a car and is harder to beat than when he's riding a missile.
What the what?
While other bosses on this list are harder in other ways, and while there are definitely harder bosses in general, Whizpig perfectly represents how bosses could spike suddenly without any warning, forcing the player to adapt and win or give up in frustration because they couldn't handle the spike. And considering he's the second to last boss race in the game, makes this even worse.
I'm the Fiery Joker, and the boss countdowns keep coming. Next time we're going to be looking at bosses that are hard to beat, but not because you can't. Oh yeah, I need to do that.
There we go. Yeah, fair enough. So, luckily, actually, I do remember the Beerus and Whis fights, because, good God, if you're just bum rushing it, good luck, you're gonna need it. Whew. Hey. And, well, like Whizpig, that's sick of the last, to be honest. Whew. Headache-inducing, to be honest, too. Anyway, so that's about it for this countdown. Thanks for watching. Until next time, like, subscribe for more. See you around, guys. Adios.